Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Connect, Share, Prosper. I'm your host, Chaz Wilson, excited to be with you today. Here on this episode, we got some exciting things to talk about, and I want to share with you just some thoughts about what we're working on right now and how this can impact you and your business, and how to take your mission that is so vital to your business and turn it into a movement. I'm going to share that with you today on this episode of Connect, Share, Prosper.
I'm your host, Chaz Wilson. I bring you successful entrepreneurs, add valuable wisdom to your journey, and help you succeed. Welcome to Connect, Share, and Prosper.
All right, everybody. So today, the thing to keep in mind right now in this time, in this climate that we're in, with so many things happening, we're still in the midst of COVID. A lot of people suffering from COVID fatigue. We're in the presidential election season. There's a lot of people already with the political fatigue. All of those things going on. And what happens is that rolls over into sometimes business fatigue. And as a business owner, that just can't happen. You can't have that fatigue, at least not for an extended period of time, because it'll impact the success of your business. So how do you change that? How do you get out of this fatigue, this when you're down? How do you create momentum? So I'm going to share with you my thoughts on that today and what we're doing in Master Networks to do the exact same thing. So a couple things that, really it's, how do I turn and build my mission, right? The thing that I'm passionate about into a movement. If you're suffering from sort of that fatigue right now, what I would challenge you to consider is you may not be in touch with the mission of why you do what you do. And it's time to get back to that. And I'm going to share with you how to do that. So important that you get clear on that mission. So the notes that I'm going to share with you is something that I presented to our team not long ago. I've done it a couple of times just as a reminder. And the clarity that comes from this is how do you now get others involved around you to take the mission of what you're trying to do to impact others and get others to come with you along for the ride. The notes that I have are from a presentation I heard and then some adaptation of my own. But it was about 2 years ago. I was listening to Alex Sharfin, who just a phenomenal business leader, and we were at a seminar, and I was taking notes. I went back through them, and I changed some of the things that he said to adapt them for us, and you can do the same, adapt them for you. But this is really what we talked about on how you build and take your mission and turn it into a movement. So number one, let me share with you the benefits of doing this, and this is why this will be there for you, okay? Number one, you will become, when you can turn it into a movement, the mission that you have, you'll become the undisputed leader in your industry, right? You will be the leader because you've turned it into a movement. And that's important. All of us want to be good and be the best at what we're doing. In fact, recently I read the book, The Dip. If you've not read that, go back and read that from Seth Godin. He talks about, look, be the best in the world at what you do. The world for you might be your local community. That's your world, then be the best at what you do. And if you don't want to be the best, it's probably time to do something else. That's The Dip. And so I'm not going to give away too much of that book. Go get it. Seth Godin's book, The Dip. So number one, you become the undisputed leader. Number two, you grow through the movement. You personally grow. And so here's the thing, that's going to generate energy for you. So as Master Network starts to grow and we become a movement and we go, I grow, I'm forced to, as a leader, grow. My capacity has to grow. My leadership skills have to grow. And yours will too. And in fact, some of the fatigue you might be feeling right now is the lack of growth, right? The reason you're feeling it is because your capacity has been expanded and you haven't filled it to that capacity. And you know that internally, so you got to keep growing, right? So it's undisputed leader, grow through the movement that you're building. That's the benefit of it. Number three, you grow by referral, which is so powerful. Right, some of you are spinning wheels right now. I know we've felt that at times where we're just spinning wheels. And I was like, no, we've got a customer base. We need to pour into them. Right, it's that constant reminder of that. You have a database. You have customers. Or maybe you're starting a new business, but you have a network of people. That's where you want to lean on and get them part of the mission. I'll share with you how to do that. But these are the benefits, right? Undisputed leader, grow through the movement, and you grow by referral because as the movement expands, people want to invite others through it. In fact, I'll give you a great example of this outside of Master Networks. So recently, I kind of hit that fatigue and that plateau physically in the gym routine that I was doing, right? That happens to a lot of us. I would go to the gym 4 or 5 days a week, do the, couple of different exercise routines, and I just felt like I'd plateaued, and I just wasn't even excited about it. My mission is still to get in the best shape that I possibly can, but the movement wasn't happening. I wasn't moving the way I wanted to anymore. I wasn't directed to that. So I had seen a friend of mine talk about a gym that he went to, and then I went and visited. This gym it's called F45. It's functional movements in 45 minutes. What I love about it is, and it's becoming a movement, right? I've seen people have shirts and hats and gear and social media posts, etc. It's become a tribe. The powerful thing is that it's growing by referral. Like they're almost locally doing zero advertising, but people get in, they love it, and so they invite their friends. It grows by referral, and that's how I was invited, and that's how I've invited other people to it. So that's a benefit of creating a movement, not just having a storefront like every other gym. They've created a tribe and a movement and was clearly beneficial for them. The fourth is, and this is what I love Alex talked about, which I absolutely love, was you become difficult to compete with. Right? When you're the undisputed leader and you're growing through this movement as a leader, and you're growing through referral, you become very difficult to compete with. No one really wants to take you on, even in your local market. If that's your world and you're becoming the best, people don't really want to take you on because you have a movement and there's others around you, and that insulates you, which is number 5 benefit. It insulates you. This movement insulates you and your business. It can insulate you from attacks. It can insulate you from challenges in business. It can insulate you from things like COVID. I mean, the fact that we have this massive network across the country really helped us and insulated us when COVID hit. Yeah, we felt a little bit of drop in membership, but that flattened out real quick, during that time. So that's why having a movement is so powerful. So how do you do it? Those are the benefits. Again, let me recap. Undisputed leader. You grow through the movement, you as a leader. You grow your business by referral. You're difficult to compete with. And number 5, it insulates you from those challenges around you. So let me share with you, I'll go through my notes here, 3 ways that you can create this movement. Okay, you ready? If you're taking notes, write this down. This is so important in a movement. You might think, gosh, I just have this one business, or I just have this thing, I just sell this product. It's not really a movement. I'm telling you, it is important and vital for you to create a movement in what you do. Okay, the people, to get them behind you. So number 1, you have to define and unify. Okay, you have to define what the movement is and what the mission is to create the movement, and unify the group around you to create a tribe. I mentioned Seth Godin. He also wrote a phenomenal book called Tribes. And he talks about the difference between just having a crowd that's following and a tribe, right? In fact, he uses this quote, and I'm going to quote him here. He says about the difference between a tribe and a crowd. A tribe is a group of people connected to one another. Hear that? A tribe of people connected to one another. Connected to a leader, which is why you've got to grow your capacity as a leader. And connected to an idea. Not or, it's all of those. A tribe is a group of people connected to one another, connected to a leader, and connected to an idea. That's what you do to create a tribe and to create the movement. Now, you've got to define it, and you've got to unify those within the movement who are leaders, maybe they're sub-leaders, etc., or they're followers of you as the leader. You've got to define what the movement is and the mission and unify them together. There's great ways to simply test this and try this out and improve your skill set. For those of you in Master Networks who have a chapter, you can turn around and create your chapter and get clear on the mission of Master Networks and the mission of your individual chapter, right? And create it as a movement so it grows. This is the same key for you, right? Define and unify what the mission of that chapter is. Define it. Create core values to it, or create a mission statement for your chapter, and then unify the leadership around that mission. That's the first step to creating a movement. Okay? And the leadership is so key. I can't stress this enough. For us, we are constantly challenging our leaders to be better, which challenges me to be better. That is the blessing and the curse of leadership in many ways, is that you're constantly pushing yourself to be better. I love it because some people run from that. They say, gosh, the weaknesses that get shown and the transparency you have to have. Yes, of course, but that is where growth happens. And if you're not growing, in my opinion, you're dying. And so that's why I love being in roles of leadership, not for what others might see as why, but it's because of the constant growth that it gets pushed into. Okay? So number 1, define and unify. That's what you have to do. So if you're a chapter leader listening to this, or you're in the chapter, you should get your chapter leaders to sit down and watch this and say, look, we want to create our chapter as a movement. The way we do that is we need to define and unify the chapter leadership and the mission of what we're doing. Number 2, then provide the plan. So for Master Networks, it was like, what's the plan that we are going to do to take the mission and create it as a movement? At the very fundamental bottom base of that, what we decided the plan was is help our members build successful businesses, right? Help our members build successful businesses. If we do that, what happens, right? They become successful. They're going to tell others, right? And what's going to happen is they're going to want to launch a chapter or another chapter or grow their chapter. We call it launch one, grow one. They're going to launch a chapter, grow one. And we understand that chapters are the foundation. The next step then is in the plan is that develops leaders who then become area directors and regional partners. That's the plan. But it all starts with us helping members become successful business owners. That's why, frankly, I sometimes get heat where people will say, why don't you talk about growing chapters more? Because here's what I understand. If I help you listening, I'm talking to you today. If I help you become more of a successful business owner, that you then can impact the lives of those around you, and you do that through the platform of Master Networks, the movement, you will help that movement grow. I don't need to talk about the growth of Master Networks. I just have to help you be more successful through the platform, and you will then help grow. So define and unify, number 1. Number 2, provide the plan. Part of our plan is our messaging. What are we telling people, right? We talk about one relationship away from changing your future. We talk about being relational versus transactional, which is still a message we have to speak and get clarity around. I think people in our network often understand that. We don't say you don't do transactions in business. That is not what we're saying. Relational over transactional means when it comes to making a decision on whether, here's a good example. Let's say I call somebody who is interested in our product or service, and they've had a death in the family, right? The relationship is more important than the transaction at that moment. That is not the time to be pushing the transaction. That's where you then create relationship there. How can I serve you? How can I help? You drop the discussion about the transaction in that moment. That's what it means to be relational over transactional. People think that anytime you then offer something for sale, that you're being transactional. No. The relationship I have is the very reason I'm offering you the product or service, because we're the best at what we do, okay? So it's the messaging. That's the messaging of building relationships. It's the messaging of 5+1, right? 5+1 right here. It's the messaging of that. It's the messaging of the training tidbits. Those are the messages that are part of the plan that we have, right? It's becoming part of Master Networks, getting in the hub, getting in the university. That's the plan that we have to help you be a successful business owner, which fits in that plan. So define and unify, provide the plan. So again, if you're a chapter leader, what's the plan for growth? What's the plan for your chapter meetings? What's the plan for follow-up with a visitor and inviting them, etc.? Like, provide the plan for the members of your chapter, okay? Number 3, so after you define and unify, after you've provided and clearly laid out that plan and you know your messaging, the last thing, and probably the most important thing, is viciously defend, and advocate for your tribe, okay? When we went into COVID lockdown, I guess you just say quarantine, isolation, all of the terms now that have so much meaning now in 2020. One of the things I said is I need to defend and advocate for the entrepreneur, the local business owner. So I went to my team and I said, I'm going to do a Facebook Live. I think I'm going to do it every night. And primarily the reason I did that is because, remember, we were told 14 days, and then it turned into 21 days to flatten the curve, which turned into 7-8 months. So when we initially started out, my thought was I'll do it twice a day for the next 20 days just to keep people focused, etc. And we started, and I did a Facebook Live every single day. It started out twice a day. Some of you weren't with us then, but I couldn't keep that up for every day just because of my family and the other commitments that I made. But we did it every night. I think we did over 100 Facebook Lives that I did with myself and invited guests on to advocate for and defend for the entrepreneur. And when we look back, I think the history of Master Networks will show and I think it already does, that one of the pivotal things in our maintaining and sustaining our growth during that time was those advocating and defending for Facebook Lives that we did every single night. So the question I have for you is, in your tribe and in the mission that you're in, the movement you're trying to create, are you advocating for those in your tribe? Again, if you're a chapter leader, are you advocating for them to come together? Are you advocating for them? Are you advocating and defending the Master Network's mission with them so that they take advantage of that? Remember the benefits. You become an undisputed leader, right? You insulate yourself from the isolations. You grow as a leader. You grow by referral. All of those benefits. And then when you move into creating that movement, you define and unify, right? You have your plan. You lay it out, and then you defend and advocate for. So my ask in this is I'm looking for, because here's the thing, if we're to lead a not and if you're to lead a movement, you need help, right? And so my ask is that we need your help. We need your help because there are not so much that we need it here at HQ and at headquarters, but there are people that need it. I'm aware of people who've lost their business. I'm aware of people who are starting new businesses because they were laid off and they've been looking for work. And they said, look, I'm going to try this entrepreneurial thing. I've never done it before. I'm aware of people who've lost family members from COVID, or maybe they are, maybe they've lost family members not directly from COVID, but they're still, they're basically from COVID. You know, the fallout of, they're a casualty of COVID, if you will. There's a lot of people struggling. Maybe you're not. Okay, maybe you're not. And that's great. If you are not, then I say it's our duty, if we're not struggling and we haven't been tremendously impacted, it's our duty to reach out and help others. So my ask of you is this. What we've created here is a movement to help entrepreneurs, to build legacy beyond the business, to create a successful, profitable business that funds and supports their life and their mission. We want to help more people do that. And so I'm reaching out to you, talking about this movement that we've created and the mission that we have to help these entrepreneurs. Because when we help them, it's not just them that it helps. There's so many intangibles that, come from that, are a byproduct of that, a ripple from that. The confidence that it instills in the individual who's created their business and has it running successfully. The family that they can support, no matter what that looks like, right? The employees they can hire and employ because they are now profitable and running a successful business. That, my friends, is what will impact our local communities more than what the politics right now and the messaging of the politics are. No one's coming to save you, but we together can help each other. So what I want to ask is this. I want you to think about who, and if you're listening to this and you're not part of Master Networks, we want to invite you to join us because what we're creating is something powerful, special, and impactful. And if you're not part of it, we want to invite you to join us. If you are, I want you to consider those around you. Some people are struggling in silence, and every once in a while we become aware of those, and I have these conversations. I'm like, man, we have got to do a better job at outreach to invite people into Master Networks. So if you're aware of somebody who's been laid off, if you're aware of somebody who's underemployed, somebody who's struggling in their business, somebody who's started a business, reach out to them. This is a perfect time for them to try something new, if they haven't done it before, to join something like Master Networks, to grow their business and grow themselves personally and professionally. So with that, I hope you found that helpful, right? Creating a mission, you're taking your mission and creating it into a movement. Movements imply moving, and they have energy, and they create action, and they create a ripple effect, the network effect that expands. And that's the power of what it takes to do that. So I hope you found that helpful. This has been on my heart for a couple of weeks. I wanted to make sure that I got this out to you. This is important. This is an important work that we're all involved with. If you're part of Master Networks, I say thank you. Thank you for being who you are, because otherwise it's the mission statements that are up on the wall here at HQ. It's the things that we talk about that never get delivered to the local market unless you, as a Master Networks member, fulfill that, and you do that every single day. We're so proud for all that you do to represent the entire organization of thousands of entrepreneurs in 20 states, 20 plus states of Master Network. So again, thank you. Now, if you like this, share it. Please share it out to your chapter members. Remember, every Monday, noon Central, join me on the Master Network's Facebook page where we talk with successful entrepreneurs, where I give what we call our solo episodes, where I share some things that are on my heart, my mind, or current events that are happening. And we share that every Monday, noon Central. Join us next week where I'll have a special guest on my episode of Connect, Share, Prosper, Monday, noon Central. Until then, be well. Take care.